Hi, this is Jojo with the Hookup Baits Podcast, and we are very excited today to have Ben Seacrest with us. Thank you for joining us today.
For sure.
Well, first, let's start with telling the listeners you're a native Californian.
Yep.
Where did you grow up?
Redondo Beach, LA. Just like the surfer song from the Beach Boys. Remember Redondo Beach, LA? Sorry.
They're singing about you.
Yeah.
And how did you get introduced to fishing?
Ben Seacrest Sr., age of about 3 years old.
You're a junior?
No, I'm not, but his name was Ben Seacrest, and my name was Ben Seacrest, so I never had a junior on the back of my name, but...
Too cool for a junior.
Yeah. He started me fishing freshwater first, really young, with bluegills, crappie, whatever, real small stuff. And that was at Canyon Lake, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
So I started fishing at Canyon Lake. I fished all the southern reservoirs because my dad was a big bass fisherman. But by living in Redondo, we also fish for barracuda, bonita,
the bubble hole. Yeah.
So by the age of 15 or so, I was pretty rounded with that kind of fishing. And I was totally into surfing. I started surfing when I was 10 and surfed, all throughout my life. And I just like to be around the water, but I went to college at Chico, and when I got out of Chico State, Greg Stotesbury got me hired with AFCO, and that was the beginning of everything else. So in my early 20s, I was hired with basically right into the industry, and I've been in the industry now for like almost 40 years.
Wow.
So I worked for AFCO, and I worked for Shimano, and I worked for Accurate, and those I've had 3 jobs in the last however long.
Wow.
And I've been very fortunate. Each job let me fish at least 100 days a year, right, for everything. So I've been very stoked.
Yeah. Living in the fishing industry is not a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing. It was a little tough, rearing a family during those points because I had to have someone that was, someone that would put up with the fish and travel. So Teresa actually understood that was my world. I met my wife on the Royal Polaris. Rollo Hine introduced me to her.
Wow.
So that's my story, and I'm gonna basically stand by that.
Now, obviously, you did a lot of traveling with these amazing careers. What would be your top 3 places you've fished that just were amazing?
For sure, Australia. Fishing the Barrier Reef, fishing all around the Goldie, doing that stuff. There's so many different species to catch and so many different things to do. I would say another one's got to be Fiji. I've been to Fiji a whole bunch of times, caught giant GTs, what they call red bass, which is a dogtooth tuna. I've caught a whole bunch of tuna there, wahoo, walu. I got a big walu this year, but that would be another place. The reason I say these things is that in both places, there's not a whole bunch of pressure. So being an angler that comes from a place that has a bunch of pressure and being able to figure out how to catch fish with the pressure there is, those places were really unique. But I'll tell you, probably one of the best fishing spots in the world for people to go to and really experience and have a really just blissful time would be Key West. I mean, when I was with Shimano, I went to Key West 6 times for a month each time I went. And so I've spent 6 months of my life fishing with Rush Moltz and Tony Murphy and, Steve Rogers, some of the best skippers down there on skiffs. You're catching dorado, you're catching sailfish, you're catching amberjack, you're catching pink ladies, which are snappers, big snappers, Wachitongo type of snappers.
Yeah.
But one other place that just recently happened this year, besides Key West, is Bay of LA. I've never seen such quality and quantity. And when I say quality, I mean you've got yellows that are, when people go, I caught a 28-pound yellow, and they weigh it with their eyes. You can't say it unless you weigh it, right?
Yeah.
So you look at things, and when you get down there and you catch a 28-pound yellow, which is a daily occurrence, and you look at it and go, my God, it's 32. It's not. It's 28, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I had this last year. I was down there with Sergio doing a film, and he was like, we're going to co-catch bait. And we were fishing Joel. And Joel's like the man down there. And they were all like I got a couple big strings of baits, and I was like, I'm never going to use that bait, so why do I want that bait? So I grabbed a surface iron rod and started throwing surface iron in 30 feet of water. And 4 or 5 yellows later, all over 20 pounds, I was like, this is insane, you know? And then we went out and we caught white sea bass, grouper, watchtongos. Then we went and caught all the cabrillas on jerk baits in real skinny water. And that's really fun, thinking that you're going to go, well, I got this. And you get reamed a couple times with those things grabbing the bait and going into the rocks. And you're like, wow. You make sure, if you do go down there, make sure you bring plenty of lures because you're going to lose a bunch. Those things pull hard. But that would be the other place.
Yeah.
Okay. And now your current position is VP of Marketing in Accurate. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Or how is that expanded?
I would say that I'm more like a utility man at Accurate. I do sales, and we have a salesman, and we have a salesman, we have a sales manager. Those guys are doing killer, but it's like still you have these relationships that you've had for years and years and years, and sometimes it's best to go in and open doors for the other people. And I've been doing sales, marketing, product development. The turn 2 basically was one of my babies, and we got a couple other things. We got a BX 230 coming and a BX 250 that will compete with other people that are in that $500 to $600 range for the big tunas. So pretty much I do promotions, and
Well, you do the blog, you keep education going.
right. I do pretty much a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I would say VP of Marketing. It's a great title, but I wish that's what all I did, right?
Well, getting back to some fishing, I know that you were just an amazing tournament fisherman. And
The OG of Calico Bass.
the legend.
Yeah, no, legends are dead. Always remember that. I'm not a legend yet. I don't want to be one.
But obviously, tell me in your opinion, as we've asked Chad this many times, but I want to hear your opinion. How did tournament fishing change the way you fish? Did it make you a better angler? What did tournament fishing do for you?
Well, what tournament fishing does is it's a Rubik's Cube. Okay? And the Rubik's Cube, you work on the Rubik's Cube, and the final day that you figure out the Rubik's Cube, that's the tournament day. Okay? So, people don't understand. There's and I'll give it to you in a way that a lot of people can get, is with fishing, there's 5 different things in fishing that go on. And that's bait, and then you have lunar phases, which is also tides. You've got structure, right? And you've got current or tidal movement. There's these things that move around that if you don't understand, like, I can't believe the fish is not biting. When the fish don't bite, that's when you can learn a lot. There's no tide. Oh, we're on the high of the moon. Or there's no bait to be sought. People are like, well, if there's bait, we won't catch fish. No, bait is the thing that initiates things to go. And the tides, the tide, no matter what. I just got done fishing all those marlin fish tournaments here, and we caught a ton of marlin, right? But you know where it was all caught? On the high or the low, right? And on the moon phases is the same thing with the tunas. So things that go around in nature, if you don't understand how to read it, you need to sit back, and the best thing you can do is, a lot of times people don't understand, is now you have this thing at your fingertips. Start looking through YouTube and say, how does lunar phase or tidal movement affect fishing? And it affects it no matter where you go. That's important. But remember, structure and bait, those things are also super important. So I would say that tournament fishing made me think that way. And then because I think that way, then I know I spent all this time on the water looking at very, different neighborhoods that these things can live in. And the one day that we smashed it in that one big tournament that we had that 3708 bag, that was all strictly based on those things. Yeah. Basically on tide.
You knew at that tide the fish were going to bite at that spot.
Exactly, that's it.
Wow.
And it's no different than bass fishing. If you I'm not being disrespectful in any way, but our saltwater tournament fishing is 0 compared to Bassmasters fishing a lake that has movement and has lunar cycles, people are like, what do you mean? There's no tides in lakes. Oh, there's movement inside. There's currents inside a lake all the time.
It's just much more.
Right, subtle.
Subtle, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
so how do you read it? I don't know, but it was really cool when I was young. I fished largemouth bass tournaments before I fished calico tournaments. And growing up the way I was able to grow up, I got to fish with some good guys, right? So I got to fish with Greg Hines, Larry Hines. You know, I fished with some really key dudes in this West Coast deal, and I did okay in a couple of them. But then that kind of tournament, every time there's 40 or 50 boats, every time back in the day in the 80s, it was $250 to $500 to join.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of money back then.
Yeah, that gets to be really. So I was like, I'm done with that, and that's made me more focus on, you know, fish. We were fishing in Newport Bay. Me and Stotts would fish in Newport Bay all the time, and he goes, I wonder what's outside Newport Bay. And I was like, Greg, I don't know. And we went out there the first time we went out there, and that was in like probably the mid 80s or so, just getting smoked one cast after another. And then
because you're on your spotty
right. And then going back and trying to figure out, okay, we need to get rods. So there was no rods. Yeah. There was no calico bass, right? Nothing. Yeah, so what's the first thing you look at? Muskie rods.
There you go.
So I started fishing muskie rods, and then I remember back then it was an Ambassador 55 and a 6500, and that was like trying to stop a water buffalo with a pen, you know. It was like. So then you watch it, and then we got friends with the Shimano guys, and the Shimano guys started creating product that we could use for it. And it slowly, we got to a point where there was calico bass stuff. Yeah. And Shimano was the first ones to make it.
Yeah, that's cool. And then tournament started and stuff.
Yeah, when the tournament thing started, it was pretty funny because it'd be like you know, you shoot pool every day, right? And then all of a sudden people go, hey, we got a pool table. It's time to have a pool, you know, a pool tournament. But you're like, no one knows that you shoot pool every day, right?
Yeah.
So that was that whole tournament deal. For the first few tournaments, people were just like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And I was like, that's all I do is fish for calico bass. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Well, obviously, fishing is a passion of yours, and we love seeing the photos of you and your daughters fishing.
Yeah.
And how does that feel to pass on that passion to them?
Passing on the passion, I wrote a really cool article if you guys want to see it, and it's in Fish Tacos. Yeah, Fish Tacos. There's a little cover shot of me and Summer with a yellowtail, but passing on the passion is something that more of us should think about. We get caught up in our day-to-day lives. By getting caught up in your day-to-day lives, you forget who's there looking towards you as someone to, hey, what do I do with my life? How does this thing work, you know? So the girls now fish with me on my birthday, and now Summer's been going striper fishing with me, tuna fishing. So I had my wife and my oldest daughter fishing tuna. So through them seeing your pure passion and love for something, it excites them inside. It's pretty fun to watch. I mean, it's weird to have my adult daughters call me and go, Dad, I want to go. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, Summer's been to fish. She's fished with me in Florida, and she's fished with me
New York.
Actually, she fished with me with Dave Marciano when we went giant fishing and stuff. So she's seen it all. She's seen a lot. And
that's awesome.
This year,
and I've seen videos. She genuinely enjoys it. Like she's like a fisher chick.
No, she loves it.
She's all over it.
She loves it. And then what's funny is that you're still a dad when the guy on the boat goes, wow, she's really, and I say, if you say she's hot, dude, I'm not old. I'll knock your ass out, you know, but, you know.
Your daughter is kind of cute.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you But it's been, passing on the passion is not only for the kids. I quit doing seminars like a couple years ago. I didn't want to do them anymore. And then this year I got talked into a few of them. And I enjoy it now. Yeah. Instead of looking at it like I was looking at it like, man, I don't want to do this again. This is, you know, but now it's pretty fun. And I was talking about jigs with you guys, those OCT 10 jigs. And I was sitting there talking to guys at the seminar, and then I had 10 guys around me looking at these jigs and asking me all these questions. That fulfilled something in me.
The same way that I give when I give in a seminar, people are paying attention and like even taking notes. I'm like, I just love that.
Yeah.
Giving information, helping people catch fish. It feels good.
No, and I forgot what that was like. I mean, Chad, I've been doing seminars for 30 years.
I know.
And I was over it for a while. I mean, you were like, hey, and I did some seminars with you in the early days and stuff. But now it's like, I don't have a problem going out and doing that again, you know?
Well, and people, you know, really want that information. And what better information to get from someone who has that experience and that knowledge and the passion.
That's the key word. People can tell if you're full of you know what or you got passion.
Exactly.
And we are in a time right now where people pass on information because they want to build a name for themselves, and they haven't built the walls of their house, right? You understand what I'm saying? And they're trying to build the roof, and there's no walls. And I'm like, hey, go out and spend the time. Yeah. Right? Someone was asking me the other day about, we were talking about marlin fishing, and they're like, well, you know, and I'm like, you know, the problem with life right now is people only can see right now. But if you want to truly know who you're talking about, grab this time and go back 10 years and figure out what these people have done throughout their lifetime. Then all of a sudden you could be talking to a wealth of knowledge, but only you know that guy as he catches bluegill and bass, right?
Yeah, the guy that fishes once a month and he's giving a seminar about something. You're like,
no, but you see that too. I mean, I see things where like, I'm going to write a book on winning tournaments. You ever won one? No. Like, good luck on writing that book.
You know, talking about passing down the passion too, right? This just happened with my tournament partner Al yesterday. So we fished yesterday's tournament, and Al's oldest son fished with us. You know, there was a 3-man team. So every time there's a 3-man team, usually one of Al's boys, right? And yesterday, he caught a 9.5-pound sand bass, and then 2 of the other bass we weighed in were Al's son. And then a few months ago, when we did the yellowtail shootout, it was Al's youngest son, and 3 of the 5 yellowtail we weighed in was caught by his son. So yesterday, I was like, I'm sure glad we taught your sons how to fish good now, because it's coming all back to us now. So, I mean, it's really cool about passing the passion, you know. It could work out for you down the road.
I just, you know, the only thing with that whole thing I like is just watching them. Like, I just told you guys about the story about the big tuna with the girls, and they're like, and the best thing was standing there with that rod in my hand, and this thing just, I mean, I had a lot of drag on the fish, and I was sitting there, and I go, hey, does anybody want any more? And I could see they had passion, but their rear ends were kicked, and they go, no, Dad, go ahead and put them away. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. It's times like that they will never forget, but I don't forget either.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, and you also have been fishing quite a bit with your wife. You guys been to Pyramid and so forth. So she's quite the fisherman as well.
I met her on the Royal Polaris, right? So I mean, as things go in life goes in a circle, and there's a very good part of my circle going right now. So the pyramid thing, people don't get. Yeah. You know, and
I'm sorry that every time we talk about going to Pyramid, only one thing I remember.
No.
Is Ben going to the bathroom on the boat.
Wow, that's really nice to bring up. He filmed it.
The funniest things I've seen in years.
I gotta go.
Every time anytime that little bit of remember of the pyramid trip with Ben, that's the first thing that pops in my head.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So getting back to fishing with your wife, yes.
Wow. Chad, you know what? Just because you film that thing and you watch it at night doesn't mean that the rest of us want to hear about it.
Oh, goodness.
That was like, you know, people don't understand Pyramid.
Yeah.
I've seen Pyramid.
Yeah. That was tough, and then it got good.
I've seen it at its height, and people are like, well, what do you mean you've seen it at its height? And when you see, like, I don't know, you know, I won't even go into it. But I mean, in the boat, when they wanted to bite, I think I caught 4 of them right off the bat, and I don't know where the hell you were. You were getting the trucker set, and I was like, "Oh, we want to stay here."
We were going to get the boat out.
Yeah, it was going off. So know that there's another thing right there. Doing your homework, right? If you did your homework, you'd know where those fish are. So sometimes you don't need to bring a boat. Sometimes you just need to figure that stuff out.
But that was like, well, you launched the boat and went all over the lake and caught a handful of them.
Yeah.
Putting the boat on the trailer, we caught all we wanted.
We caught probably 20 that night. I saw one that Teresa had it was over 15. It was giant. And I was like, you want to take a picture of it? And she's like, I could see the nightmare. I go, no, I'm going to just go let this thing go. And it was one of those nights like that you enjoy that you're alive.
Yeah.
That you made that, what is it, a 12-hour trip up there? 8 hours?
Nine
Whatever?
and a half.
9.5? Mm-hmm. But that also, what also screams to me about pyramid, and nothing against fly fishing, is there's certain ways to go through and do things. And unfortunately, I like fly fishing. I've caught tarpon and bonefish and all sorts of stuff. Calico bass, never a tuna. I caught a billfish once. But when I'm watching and the chairs are sitting in certain places and I'm fishing behind the chairs and I'm catching really big ones, that was pretty much a trip. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I was behind those guys hooking fish and they're like, they're giving me a gruff, and I'm like, dude, there's fish all around your chairs. Remember that?
Yeah. So
we weren't the most popular people for the first couple times up there.
Yeah, but a lot of it. I like that up there. Now that fly fishing against spin fishing thing is kind of going away. And there's guides up there trying to make that go away. And they're getting more in the mindset of fishing's fishing. We're all doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what gear you're using.
But the purest thing always lives. I get places and people go, well, I have a fly rod. I'm like, I got a spin rod. Well, I fish and flies. I'm like, guess what? You're not even going to believe what I'm going to fish right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And that's my thing is like, I like catching fish.
Yeah.
I like catching a lot of fish and as many as I can and as big as the ones I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the best and easiest tackle to do that with.
Yeah. No,
and
fly
fishing usually isn't that. It's an art thing. It's not about catching.
But
a lot of big
he
fish.
didn't say that negative. It's an art.
No, it is
Right,
an art.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so
he had a little connotation, but not much.
I have nothing against it.
So tell me, Ben, when was the first time you heard or saw a hookup bait? What was your first impression when you saw it?
The first time is when you guys started it. Pretty much when you
It was
started
with that Cedros trip with the English Chronicles and Dave Marciano and his wife. And they had one spot open and Sergio was like, hey, you want to go on this? It was right when we got started. And I'm like, wow, this could be something that, gets us going.
Yeah.
And I went on a trip and I was just a little shadow behind the scenes.
You know what? It was a surface iron trip, I mean, that's what it was to me. And then all of a sudden they were like, he's got these baits. And at that point, it didn't attract my attention.
Yeah. You're
right?
like, well, whatever. Yeah.
I was fishing surface iron. And we didn't even catch any bass on that trip. I didn't.
I caught a lot.
It was all surface
because
iron
I was using
fish.
hookup baits.
Yeah. He's lying. So that was it. That I'd say it was
that was the start.
Was it 6 months after that or so?
It was about 6 months after that. I kept like, we need to fish together. And then you're like, come up to Dana Point and fish on my boat. Yeah.
No, and we fished. And what happened is prior to that, I'd got some baits.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, you know what?
Well, I gave you a bunch of baits when we went to Cedros, and then I think you finally got around to using them.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is it's hard for me to go and do that sometimes. But it's like, once I used them, I called you back and I said, hey, I've been around for a long time. This is pretty crazy. What's up with this?
Yeah.
And then
I was like, we need to fish together so I can really show you what's on. Then actually the first time we fished together, you outfished me.
No. We just smoked them, period. We caught a bunch of fish.
Then I was like, come down to San Diego. And that's when I had San Diego first on them and dialed in. And then
No, San Diego wasn't dialed in. You were dialed in.
Yeah. Then we caught a bunch of big bass. Then we went rock fishing.
So the telltale is that you don't know what you have until you fish it, right? But a lot of times when you grab stuff, you have to learn all the characteristics to fish that bait. So it's cadence or it's this or it's that. With a hookup bait, there is none of that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I always say there's no wrong way to use a hookup bait.
It's on the drop and you get bit. And it was the stupidest thing for me is people go, how are you doing it? I mean, I'm smoking everybody. And they're looking at me going, man, what is going on? And it's drop it to the bottom, wind up, drop it to the bottom, wind up. And if you're fishing kelp or you're fishing structure, drop to the bottom, pump, let it drop up, and you're going to get bit on the drop or you're going to get bit up coming up. And people will go, there's got to be more that you're doing. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. But your swim bait ain't going to get bit doing that. Your swim bait's got to have a cadence to it. It's got to have something else. So your bait as a success story, I mean, I've caught I've caught yellowtail. I've even caught a tuna on it. I've caught tuna on it to the smallest thing you could catch. Yeah. And remember,
you're doing a lot of crappie with it.
Yeah, I caught a ton of crappie with it. But the other thing was just a lot of times I get the opportunity to show his bait to people that I know because I know a vast group of people. One of the greatest stories is going back east and going striper fishing.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I knew what I was going to do, right?
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen, right?
And I pulled it out, and they go, "What is that?" And they're all like, and after I did about 10 fish, they're like, "Jesus Christ!" And I'm like, "Oh, excuse the language," but I go, "Yeah." And then after that, look where you're at now.
Yeah, and they took off with it for us. So that was
like,
awesome.
There's places I'm not even going to mention on this. There's places that we haven't touched, and it's still
it's going to do the same thing.
And it's still just showing up. And a lot of times I show up and I'll look in my box and go, "Okay, it's time for these," and that opens a whole new door for angling everywhere.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back.
Awesome.
Thanks. Hi, this is Jojo with the Hookup Baits Podcast, and we are back with Ben. And we were talking before the break about your fishing in New York with your daughter and using hookup baits with Mike.
Yeah, that was. There's been a lot of places I think that people they never see them, and I walk in with them, and they're like, "What's up with that?" And those are where you need cadence and where you need, like how we do this program. I always explain it like this, and they're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I go, "When you hit it like this, it's going to move back and forth. You don't want it to drop. You want it to go through the schools of stripers." And
there's different fish. There's some fish you want it to drop into the school.
Yeah.
Then there's other fish where you want the bait to travel through the water. Trout, stripers, yellowtail, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Or bass and rockfish. That drop is way more effective than the bait coming through the water.
Well,
so
and the guys,
you got to change it up with different fish.
They don't understand the drop too. Is that the drop a lot of times is when the bait hits the bottom and you're right up off the bottom. That's what initiates a strike. And they're like, "What do you mean?" I go, "They can feel and hear the bait hit the bottom, and they're already sensed in it. And when you're coming back up, there's movement of the bait, there's movement of the water." That's the weirdest thing to bring into perspective is. There's a lot of baits, like people don't understand that fish react to movement a lot of times. And people are going, "Well, I don't understand how the clear poppers catch tuna." And I'm like, it's not the popper. They can't see it. It's the movement of the water. And it's the same way with the hookup baits. When we hit the bottom really hard and we come up, like we did that TV show in Alaska, and the guy looked at me, and I pulled out the big hookup baits you gave me, and they're like, "What do you mean?" I go, "These are, what were they, 3 ounces?"
They're 4 and 6 ounces.
4 and 6 ounces. So I'm dropping these things to the bottom. I hit the bottom. I pop them up once, hit the bottom again, wind them a couple cranks, boom! There's like a 60 or 80 pounder, and the guy goes, "What are those things?" After about the third one, he was like, I go, "Hey, I'm cutting them all off. Here they are. Here you go." But the point is
candy up there.
It's like one of those things that with that bait, wherever I go, I always have them. I pull them out and I'll start using them, and people are like, "This shouldn't happen this way." And I go, "Why? Why would you go and say no and instead of just open arms?"
Yeah.
Open arm everything, because I remember catching salmon on the first ones, and people are like, "Salmon don't eat those," and I'm like, "Oh, full speed, put them on the drop, and boom, you're done." And that's another drop bait, because I used to use Wilson darts, and I used to jig Wilson darts way before I knew you. I catch tons of salmon, put that hookup bait, just drop it down, and it stops, and you're like, "Oh, it's 100 feet deep, and it just stopped in 40 feet." Point is the good thing about a hookup bait too is it is a search bait. You can turn around and cast it and look for schools if you're not marking, and do all sorts of stuff, which you can't do with a lot of other things.
No, it's like I said, there's no wrong way to use a hookup bait. You can use it fast, you can use it slow, you can use it just sitting still, you can use it deep, shallow, mid-water. I mean, it's such a effective bait for fishing in any way. any type of water. So that's what part of the magic of it is. There's no place where it doesn't work.
Yeah, what he just said, I think that's really critical so you guys understand is that when you go to a place and there could be 5 different species, every different species could have a different way to eat this bait. On the drop, slow cadence. Remember what we used to do a lot of times up at Crawley is bam, bam. So you just have to put into you could fish that bait like a jerk bait. And guys are like, what do you mean? I go, when you pop it, it doesn't move forward. It goes, wah.
Yeah, it goes all over the place.
And then it goes, wah. And the other thing that we'll get into is fishing 2 of them at a time because you have to check the game regulations because I'm not sure in some places.
Most places, almost everywhere, you're allowed 2 baits.
If you want to really see some fun, put 2 of them on 4-pound and fish for trout. One high, one low. Oh, my God. 2 trout at a time is pretty funny.
For saltwater bass is where it's
Oh, no, but that's a different gig for me. I've done that. Remember that one time you and I were fishing and people will go, there's no way you catch 300 bass. I was catching them 2 at a time
when you
for
count,
an hour.
When you count by 2, it's not that hard.
Yeah, but I mean, remember that. I remember dropping down and I'm like, Chad, this is like the 10th time I've caught 2 at a time. But when you find those schools that are spawning and they're moving and you've got those agitated fish, it's insane.
Yeah. When one bites, the other one's going to jump on.
What about the yellowtails? The yellowtail's always great. You hook 2 yells at once, whoop, and then all of a sudden you got one on. You're like, what's that? They go 2 different ways. One breaks off, and the other one you get. So
you hook a yellowtail, and it's running, and all of a sudden the run gets like weird for a second. Then you're like, then it gets back to normal, and you come back up, and one of your baits are gone.
Yeah, and again, and Charlie Brewer used to have a thing called the do nothing method, and that was like, throw out a bait, straight wind it back, right? So with Chad's baits and Jojo's baits, the hookup baits, in a sense, are do nothing method. 2 at a time, you're going to have nothing to do except you can lift it, and if it's the bottom and you wind it, it's rock cod fishermen.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Nothing better to catch vermilions on it.
And lings, and whatever.
Yeah, they eat them like
So you guys have obviously fished a lot together. Give me one of your best stories fishing together.
I think the best story for me is Chad and I took my mentor out, which is George Clough, and we took him out one night.
That was a good trip.
We got on the water at 6. We didn't get off until like 8 that night.
How old was he? He was
72, 73 back there.
And that guy, he was all day long, no problem.
Really?
But
it was amazing.
Before the end, and we caught hundreds of fish, but before the end, he had a 7 and he had an 8 or something on one of these spots. Remember that? Yeah. He had a couple of them in a row, and I was like, I just walked up to Chad and I go, oh, he'll never forget this one. Because not only did we catch, I don't know how many fish, we didn't click them then. And it was like, when you started clicking them, I was like, some of those days we fished, we caught more than your clicker days. And I was like, wow. So that was, to me, and the other one to me, I think, was the first time that you and I were like, you had already poked your head out there, but you didn't have it completely wired out in front. And we poked out. I'm telling you, we put, I think it was 10 each there. We had 20 big reds.
Oh, yeah.
And then that was like everybody in my family ate good for a while. It was great.
That was my favorite one with you, is that, I just started playing with catching the reds, the rockfish, shallow water rockfish a little bit, and we were catching bass, and it wasn't a wide open bass bite. I'm like, let's go rock fishing, Ben. He's like, rock fishing? What are we going rock fishing?
I thought we were going in 400 feet of water.
I'm like, no, check this out. Let me show you something. We pulled up on a rock that was just loaded, and we both dropped down and get double 5 and 6 pounds reds, and we did that for hours, and it was so much fun.
And you know what? You might think that this is a BS program, but it happened. I was there.
Yeah, that became your favorite thing to do for the next couple
years. Yeah. You're like, Ben, where are you at? And I go, I'm over here if you need me.
Reds,
Because not only did we catch reds, we caught keeper lings, we caught yellowtail.
Yeah. Then I remember that trip. We fished the rockfish for a while, and then we're going back to San Diego Harbor, and I'm like, oh, there's a spot right here I want to stop at real quick. And Ben's like, I need to make a phone call anyway, right? Well, he's on the phone. I see, and I was using a 3-ounce big bait. And I dropped it down, and I hooked this fish, and I'm like, this is a good one. But he's on the phone. I reel it up, and I see it, and I'm like, and I pull it over the rail, and I just put it on his feet. and he's on the phone like a business call, and all of a sudden he's like, "Holy crap! What the?"
Yeah, that's not what I said. The F word was there.
Yeah, I just cleaned it up. It was like 8.5 pound calico.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but we've caught. I mean, not only are you going to catch a lot of fish, but you'll catch big fish. But again, it comes down to his baits, or I'm not going to say they're do nothing. If you grab those baits, you'll catch fish. But if you learn to work the baits, and that comes from us fishing trout, I think, too, and bass and everything else, once you start learning to finesse and fine-tune the bait, you will catch more fish than you could believe.
Exactly. You know, my feelings were hurt, though, when Jojo asked what's your favorite place you ever fished, and you didn't say the hub boat.
Oh, jeez. He's got that rainbow flag on the back of it. You can't miss it. But...
Well, through the years, obviously, you have been a great mentor to us, Ben. You have so much experience and knowledge in the fishing industry, and Chad and I came, with hookup baits with really zero fishing industry experience, and you have been phenomenal, and we cannot thank you enough of really guiding us over the years of what to do, what not to do, how to get into stores, build those relationships, and we continue to learn from you even today. So we want to both say thank you for that, very much so.
And just so you know, hubs came from this guy.
Yeah.
The original hubs.
The original, the original
right.
came from this guy too.
That's right.
Mr. Marketing Genius here.
No, you guys, you know what? You had a sharp stick. I just helped you with the point a little bit. That's
There
all I
you go.
did. Penetration.
And so with that, obviously we continue to, we have Southern California, and now we've really, over the past few years, expanded. What markets do you feel that we haven't expanded to enough or haven't gotten into that you think these baits are just going to be fire?
Lake Michigan, or Great Lakes. Ben's been telling me for years.
Years. So I've been fortunate enough to fish pretty much everywhere in the United States throughout all the years in the industry. And one of the places that I've had nothing but a killer time is in the Great Lakes. And what's in the Great Lakes?
Everything.
No.
Trout,
Smallmouth.
Smallmouth.
You can't put smallmouth in any other. That's the stuff. So to catch a lot of smallmouths, I know through experience that smallmouth love the hookup bait.
Yeah.
And my biggest, I don't like to put my secrets on film, so I'm not going to tell you, but he knows one of my secrets.
I've seen them.
And I can only imagine getting into like a big cloud of those things and throwing 2 at a time.
Oh, yeah.
It would be sick.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'd react that way. So if you ask me, one of the biggest markets that exists in the world is the Great Lakes. And there's a huge amount of opportunity in the Great Lakes. And the only way to do it, it's not going to be by mouth. You have to go show them. So your whole business.
Oh, dang it. I have to go fishing there?
Yeah. your whole business.
Did you hear him? Did you hear him? I have to go fishing there.
Yes, the two of you need to go.
Yeah. But I would say that your whole there's ways that people look at things and they'll go like the flying lure. People would look at the flying lure and go, "Oh my God," and they'd sell 1 million flying lures, and then where's the flying lure? It's gone.
It's gone.
Right?
Yeah.
So by word of mouth and doing it yourself and showing the right people and use those people as your ambassadors for that area, there's nothing but opportunity.
Did you see just a few months ago, Dave and Nancy went to the Great Lakes and did some trout fishing? And I guess they did some lake trout jigging. And, of course, Dave pulled out the hookup baits. Everywhere he goes, he pulls out the hookup baits and started slaying the lake trout and rainbows. And the guide that they're with, messaged me on Instagram. He goes, "Hey, Dave and Nancy fished with us, and these baits that they brought with them were amazing. We'll be talking." So I was like, there you go.
No, but see,
it's starting there,
if
so.
you got the right friends, you can go a long way.
And they caught some big reds as well.
Oh, the big redfish in Louisiana last year. Yeah.
No, that's I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Because when I met Dave, no one knew Dave, right? I knew him before Wicked Tuna.
Yeah.
And I slowly started introducing him to different friends, and as it went, now he has a great life, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I just look at it and I come back and think about it, and some of the best stuff is like him coming to me and asking me questions about things. And when it got to point where, what do you think about crimps versus knots? I go, you could tie a good knot that could land a 500-pounder. It's just knowing how to tie it. So we started messing with knots, and then he called me one time and he goes, dude! And I was like, oh, my knots are working, huh? Good.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to be able to share.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to be able to learn, because my whole philosophy in life is not only, what I'm always saying, but it's also keep your ears open and your mouth shut sometimes, and you can learn a lot of stuff. And I enjoy it.
Yeah. Never stop learning.
So you've seen us for the past 7 years. In your opinion, where do you see Hookup Baits in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a hard thing to say, because if the economy was going to be what it's been all along, I would say Hookup Baits would be through the roof, and it'd be a good thing. But with the economy going where it's going, and we don't know if we're going in here or there, I would say that right now you still have an opportunity to grow and prosper, but it has to be done with the right people going to the right places, talking to the right people, and increasing your reach by guerrilla warfare. You understand what I mean? Guerrilla marketing, word of mouth. That's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
I do it with everything I do. Look at right now, we're talking about that other business I'm working with, and just because of that, in the last 4 or 5 months, I've sold probably 3,000, 4,000 baits. So it's just figuring out. I would say, first of all, strategizing where you want to go, and look at real appropriate markets, and then go into people that go, who do you know there? Who's over there? Who's over here? And use those people that are part of your group to expand the business.
Yeah, nothing sells a bait better than a buddy out fishing another buddy.
Sometimes it's
and then
not
that
even...
buddy grabs them, and then he goes fishing with the next buddy, and then the next buddy, and that only happens with something that works. It's I get that with people. There's a lot of little companies that try to make it in the fishing industry, and it's tough. But if you make something that works and put it in the right people's hands, it actually goes by itself, for a lot of parts. So
and you've tuned up your things where you've looked at places to save money, and by saving money, you increase profit margin, and that always comes to be part of a really good business. Is someone that can look, they can stop and go, now let's look back into here. Let's look at us versus looking forward right now. And you look at yourself, you clear everything out, you get everything tight again, and boom, you push forward.
Yeah.
It's like boxing, man. All you're trying to do is throw that one. You're trying to throw one to get at the spot, and then follow it up with another one. So
that's awesome.
Last question here, Ben. Love to hear that you're doing seminars again. I think I've heard so many, and I love when you do seminars, and we so appreciate when you've done seminars with Chad.
Yeah.
What's next? What are you going to do next?
What am I going to do next? I don't know. You know what? I was sort of getting burned out with fishing, and then you go through circles of life, right? I mean...
No, I know the last couple of years you took up trout fishing a lot.
Well, more than the last couple of years. You think it's a couple of years? It's been a long time now. But yeah, I love to trout fish, and the reason I love to trout fish, no matter what, is it takes sometimes more ingenuity, and it takes more to figure that puzzle out than a lot of other fish.
I've always said the few best fishermen I know start with trout fishing, or at least trout fish.
Well, I trout fished at the very beginning too.
Yeah,
my dad took me trout fishing and all that other stuff, but what happens now is that I'm around people, and because of where we are in the world today with the internet, people, they say things that aren't believable, and they're not believable because they never did them, right? So you listen to that stuff, and what I've gotten to the point now is that I know what I do, and I know what I enjoy, and what I enjoy to do is find a puzzle that I haven't really played with, and my puzzle this year might be Bridgeport, Yeah. That might be my puzzle this year, because
I'll let you know how it goes in a couple days.
I'm not really I can't say I have crawly wired, but I've caught a lot of fish in crawly.
Bridgeport and crawly are very similar.
Yeah.
And fishing wise. So.
Yeah. Well, I know one of my buddies is up there fishing jerkbaits, and he's fishing on the beach with jerkbaits, and he's catching slobs. And when I see the slobs, I know that there's other places to catch them besides the beach.
Yeah.
And I just remember some of the stuff that, when you look at someone that knows what they're doing, and you want to learn things, but people don't know what fan casting is, but fan casting for trout is huge, because that helps you figure out the depth And once you figure, hey, I got 2 bites and that's only 5 feet of water, where are the fish? 5 feet of water, right? So to me, I would say my next thing is just to continue. I don't know anything that, I know a little and not a lot. And as you move forward in the world, everybody thinks they know everything. They don't know nothing until you die. When you die, then you can figure out, hey, I know 20% of 100, right? That's the way I look at it. So my next thing is to learn more. If I can learn more about fishing, I'll be stoked.
Yeah. And see, and that come from a guy with so many years in fishing, still wanting to learn more. And that's what I live by. Never stop learning when you're on the water. Always learning more. And I just talked to a guy yesterday after the tournament. He goes, "Yeah, I think I got the hookup baits dialed now."
No, never.
That was my same reaction. I'm like, no, you don't got the hookup bait.
No.
I don't have the hookup baits dialed. You're a long way up. You might know how to fish them better now, but you're not gonna have them dialed.
Because what the deal is he made them. Yeah. I fished no matter what. People look and they'll go, I don't wear a flag for anybody. I just do the best I can do for me, right? Yeah. But I fished them a lot too. Like right now, straight line. Fast as you can wind straight line. Oh, they won't eat that. Oh, they will. Mm-hmm. They'll eat on the drop. They'll eat a cane. I mean, so you don't really know. We haven't really figured out
There's
what the
so
next
many
thing.
techniques with them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And when to use that technique for that time, and it can change from morning till noon. That technique totally changes. It's just so it's to really know what technique, the exact time to use it for what type of fish and what water you're in.
Yeah,
you're never gonna have that dialed. You can have a good sense of what it needs to be, but
yeah,
you're not going to have it
you
dialed.
don't. And I would say the last thing I will say about what I want to do is I want to spend more time fishing with my friends. We'll help find more time with Fat Chad to fish, but I would also want to say I want to fish more.
Did you say Fat Chad?
No, I said another, but instead of fat, it ended with a G. Sorry, guys out there. But I want to fish more with my daughters, and that's what I put to you guys is that if you have time, take your kids fishing. I mean, that's the next generation. And the biggest thing is you might catch 10-pound bass and go, I got a 10-pound bass. But when you see your kid catch a 10-pound bass, that's a different gig.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty fun.
I mean, it's yesterday's tournament where Al's son got that 9.5. Yeah. PB on tournament day, and he made a bunch of money on it, got a custom rod. I'm like, that's a dream right there. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we can't thank you enough, and we look forward to having you close and continuing the Hookup Baits family and all your knowledge and lots of fishing and more fishing stories.
Yeah, so. All we got to do is catch a marlin.
Yeah,
that'll be real. I hooked one on a surface iron the other day, so I know they'll eat that.
Well, we've had at least 4-5 times guys on party boats catching them on party boats, not the hook marlin on the Hookup Baits. So.
Yeah.
So they definitely eat them.
Yeah, let's try it.
Do it.
Well, we'll have you back soon to talk about that. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking time again for the Hookup Baits podcast.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye. Yeah, always.